In fact, these days, I mean, people, when you attend academic meetings, experts do not really talk about the distinction between pure and applied research. One of the most interesting comments I heard was about a month ago in Washington, when a very important, well-known researcher said that there's no applied and pure research. Difference between applied and pure research. The difference, there's research and research waiting to be applied. So these are very, very, they are very interesting. These new trends in higher education are having a very important influence on the universities itself. Another area, for example, rectors increasingly find themselves in all over the world is fundraising. This is a philanthropic activity that American university presidents probably know better than any others. I mean, the rector of George Washington University, Steve Trottenberg, used to be a good friend of mine, and one of the things he used to say to me, my job is to go out and find money, nothing else. My provost will run the university. Now, fundraising is a very, very interesting thing, and it creates important dilemmas for universities. Let me explain one experience I had at Boğaziçi University. I mean, our period was known as a fundraising period. We got many donations to the university to do certain things, build dormitories, renovate dormitories, labs, classrooms, old buildings that was very difficult to renovate by historical buildings, very difficult to renovate with state money. So we went out and raised money. One of the offers I got, a very interesting episode in Turkish higher education history, is that at the time the largest media mogul, I would say, leader, Aydın Doğan, approached us and they said, I don't want to establish my own private university, but I would like to do something quality at a public university. So we said, why don't you establish at Boğaziçi University the Aydın Doğan Communication Institute. And he was ready to donate money on a long-term basis after an initial sum. But what happened was there was a faculty revolt saying that the autonomy of the university and our academic freedom is being threatened. Now you can see this kind of thing happening in other parts of the world where universities go out and try to raise money, give names to buildings and programs where faculties react, saying that this is not in our old tradition, ivory tower tradition, that big money is coming into the university to create I'm sorry, I was carried over. To create, funds for yourself. So new rectors have to be really concerned with, very much concerned with fundraising as well. So that also requires a different ability. That requires, as Steve Trottenberg told me, just another set of qualities that is conducive to raising money in the society. So you're moving towards a managerial type of leadership. Student fees, for example, we are moving more and more towards tuition in the universities. Very unpopular in Turkey, very unpopular in Europe. But still, student fees and students paying tuition is becoming an important trend. But developing policies to acquire more funds from students is a very important political problem. It's also a very important managerial problem, especially, it may not be in the American case, but it is in many European countries that I know, and also in a place like Turkey. Because there is a very important very important, people automatically assume that free education is equal to social justice, which I don't think is true. If you have very income distribution problems in your country, that is necessarily reflected into higher education. And if you have free education within a setting of income, mal-income distribution, is this social justice or not? It's a question that begs an answer, and it becomes a managerial problem for university rectors. Now, let me try to wrap up in my 5 minutes, 4 minutes perhaps right now. Let me try to wrap up. Now, how do we deal with these crises? Is the managerial type, the managerial rector is an answer to the university, to university management? I think it poses important threats. It poses important threats in the sense that a university as we know it, university as I try to discuss by reference to some of the thinkers on what a university is, faces the danger of becoming a slave of the marketplace. Now, the traditional struggle of the university for autonomy, for academic freedom, has been directed towards the state, protecting the university from state power. This is why our values of academic freedom and values of institutional autonomy have been very instrumental. But nowadays, the problem also, we face a very important problem from the marketplace as well. Is the university becoming a slave of economic power? Now, through the funding crisis, through the transformation of the university to managerialism, from what I would call collegialism on the one hand, collegial way of running the universities through senates, through academic councils, through deliberation, through sort of protecting itself from outside market forces by emphasizing professionalism and being an academic in a university, is gone. Those days are gone. But I think there are new threats. The new threats, the managerial threats, I think, we have to face those managerial threats. Now, how do we face them? Now, the guideline for this, I think, I was very much impressed by 2 books that Burton Clark wrote. One of them is The Entrepreneurial University, and the second one is sort of revisiting his entrepreneurial university. And his argument was that the universities in the first book had no chance but to become entrepreneurial, to become and adopt a managerial style of running the university. Rectors had to be managers. Rectors had to be entrepreneurs. And the forces are forcing the university towards that paradigm. In his second book, Sustaining Change in Universities, he revisits that idea. He sees managerialism as an important threat to university. And then his answer is, of course, I don't have time really to reflect too much on it, but his answer is that universities have to find a happy medium between collegialism and managerialism. He makes a very strong argument. He made a very strong argument in his book, in his earlier book, against how inefficient the universities may be if they are run purely based on academics, academic deliberation, academic councils, and how universities become very conservative institutions if they are run like that. And in sustaining change in universities, his second book, he emphasizes the fact that, well, yes, I was still right on the collegial manner of managing a university, but the pure managerial style also poses very important threats to academic freedom, to institutional autonomy as well. So the challenge for him on sustaining change in the universities in the second book was to build a happy medium between collegialism and managerialism. I think this is still a challenge that the universities run. Do I have an answer? I don't have an answer. I mean, as a rector, I'm aware, and as the chair of the Magna Carta Observatory in Italy right now, we always are being faced with this question. Do you have a formula for it? No. Well, universities, in a way, they produce formulas, but they should not be run against formulas. But we should be aware that universities stand for very important values. Academic freedom, for pre-research and dissemination of that research, and institutional autonomy to decide, to be able to decide, to guide the university. I mean, Durmuş Bey talked about diversification. This is where institutional autonomy comes. In this day and age, you have to have institutional autonomy for the universities to chart their own way, chart their own different way. So we have to be aware, as managers of universities, as persons who run education systems, higher education systems in the country, that universities are valuable as long as they have academic freedom and institutional autonomy. If they lose that, well, they become simple institutions of higher education where some knowledge is imparted. So managerialism, I think, offers very important opportunities to universities to make their own strategic plans, to chart their own different ways, to experiment with programs, to experiment with, all sorts of experimentation. But it also poses important dangers that universities may become forces of new global forces in the society, especially emanating from the marketplace. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Ergüder. Let me invite you to a coffee break before we go on with the next session for today. So let us have a 10 minutes coffee break and then come back on 10:45 so we can start on time the next session.
Presentation for the next session. Yes, I'm fine. Yes,
Before that, I would be glad to have Professor Dr. Durmuş Günay, Professor Dr. Üstün Ergüder, and our rector, Professor Dr. Şerifali Tekalan. I would invite Professor Tekalan to give the place to Professor Ergüder and Professor Günay. Professor Ergüder and Professor Günay and Professor Tekalan.
Evet, Durman'la beraber.
Arkadaşım, gel de ama...
Çek abi. Ayağınıza sağlık. Buyurun. Buyurun. Siz şey edin. Buyurun. Bir şey yapayım da. Telefonum.
Well, great thanks to Professor Günay and Professor Örgüder for their insights. Let us continue the session with Professor Yusri Al-Gamal from Egypt, from the Egypt-Japan University of Science and Technology, EJUST. He will be talking about diplomacy of science and technology to support innovation. Very interesting title. Sir, floor is yours.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Very good morning to you. And I would like to start by thanking very much Fatih University for giving me this opportunity to address such a distinguished gathering and talking about our experience in the use of diplomacy of science and technology to support innovation on two fronts: higher education and pre-university education. Higher education through cooperation between Egypt and Japan, and pre-university education through also cooperation between Egypt and the United States. So we'll start by addressing the Egypt-Japan University of Science and Technology. Actually, the whole thing started with diplomacy through the Prime Minister's visit to Egypt. That was back in 2003. And through the dialogue to strengthen the relationships between Japan and the Arab world, there was a proposal of cooperation in science and technology in terms of a joint university. And it was the first time for Japan to think about establishing a Japanese university out of Japan. So things started to move starting from 2005. The idea was established, and then the study was done, and it took quite time, 2 to 3 years, to come up with a report on the establishment of the university under the name of Egypt-Japan University of Science and Technology. And in 2008, the Japanese parliament approved the idea, and at the same time, the Egyptian Executive Committee was formed. And in October 2008, this record of discussions between Egypt and Japan was done. In March 2009, there was a signing of the bilateral agreement. And the agreement states that Egypt will present land and infrastructure and buildings, and Japan will contribute to this university through Japanese professors and equipment and technical assistance. And so in March 2008, the president of Egypt endorsed the agreement, and in August there was this decree to establish the university. So we started 2010, February. The idea was to have a unique status in such a way that this is a government-backed partnership university with a unique mission that matches the new paradigms for the 21st century, with new partners, of course, unique partners. Japan as a world leader in science and technology, and Egypt and Japan both are two civilizations with rich heritage of culture and history, and a unique opportunity to a bridge of exchange of cooperation and synergy between the two nations. The vision was to have two main disciplines, science and technology as a major discipline, and humanities and business, and in 10 years' time we move forward to life sciences. And we are addressing global synergies to reach out students, academics, and staff researchers in the region and beyond, and to build relationships and cooperation with renowned academic and research institutions all over the world. So the first BOT meeting was done in February 2010. I was honored to be elected as the chairman of the Board of Trustees with 15 members, 7 Japanese and 7 Egyptian. And the opening was done on June 3rd, 2010. So the main concept was to have a national university based on a partnership between Egypt and Japan, with having a first-class leading university to serve Egypt, Middle East, and Africa. And it should be a role model for Egypt's 21st century universities, and also to present a spearhead for higher education reform in Egypt. To be a research-oriented university, graduate-focused, with a Japanese style, in the sense that it should be always lab-based education, practical and problem-solving. This was the approach. And close interaction with industry and multidisciplinarity with utilization of ICT. So we started with the first faculty, that was engineering in 7 programs, electronics, communication, energy, associations, and this is the Japanese universities that are forming the consortium to support this university, including Waseda, Keio, Nagoya, Hokkaido, Kyushu, Ritsumeikan, Tokayo, the University of Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo Institute of Technology. So these are all supporting this university, and you could see by specializations to the Faculty of Engineering that in electronics and communication, for instance, and computer engineering, you find Kyushu and Waseda. In mechatronics, industrial engineering and material, you have Waseda and Kyoto and the icthe, and also in energy resources and chemicals. So this, on the right-hand side, are the consortium of the 12 universities that are supporting these newborn universities. And the location was to the west of Alexandria, very close to the port and also to the airport. But the important thing is that the location was chosen so that to be very close to the city of science and technology, located there, and industrial zone, which comprises quite a good proportion of the Egyptian industries. So it is in the middle of a research, a big research city, and the industrial zone. That was where we decided to start the location of this newborn university. And for the establishment of the construction, there was an international competition that was done. And we had 12 competitors, and each competitor started to present this vision of a 21st, very modern century university. And the three finalists were three Japanese design offices. One of them, the first who won the competition, it was based on the invisible complexes. The second was the Wind Valley on Harbor, and the third was the Cloud and Rings. Three different designs. The first one, this won the contract, and the construction started. And of course, we were having always the concept of a green university, so that solar power should be used all the way to establish this university. At the same time, we started at the graduate level, but having research centers consistent with this strategic interests of EJUST, and it is central to the strategy and aligned to the priorities of the research funding with high quality and substantial both in finance and research. So we started to address some areas of research that was really needed by the society. Smart city facility for Alexandria, wireless research facility, Alexandria Regional Nanotechnology Environmental Research Facility. These are already started and running. At the beginning of the inception of this university, the research center also started to operate. Remote sensing facility and regional industrial pollution and CO2 emission abatement project for the Arab countries. And some of them are under construction. Fine Chemicals Research Center, a center for advanced electronics, nanomaterial solar energy conversion and catalysis applications, Kaizen Center for quality in higher education, energy resources and management, supply chain and logistics facility. The Smart City facility started immediately to address the needs of Alexandria, the city of Alexandria, which suffered very much from heavy traffic, so started immediately to address this problem and try to present novel solutions that use the cutting-edge technologies to overcome this problem using icthe and provide a better quality of life and better use of resources. So we started with the smart city facilities, having addressing the challenges that are there with a scientific approach to address this problem. And as it was mentioned in one of the applications, that we have to look at the smart entities all the time. Starting from the smart pedestrians, the smart cars, smart traffic, smart emergency, and so on. And use of the mobile is also one of the elements that was used to do that. So instead of using any external devices, since individuals now carry mobiles, this could be utilized very much to establish a solution. Of course, the size of the problem is too large, and here comes the use of parallel processing and the computing system facilities that are already existing within the premises of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, the Library of Alexandria. They have very good computational facilities in terms of very powerful parallel processing to do the simulation of the whole system to come up with a real scientific approach and addressing the problems of the city of Alexandria. Also in bioinformatics facility, we started the investigation of the functional genomics and design and implementation of mathematical and computational models for the gene regulatory networks. And wireless research facility, of course, we need to establish a world-class cross-disciplinary research facility, close ties to industry, both at national and international levels, and applying basic and applied research in wireless networking. So 3 groups were formed: the wireless networking group, the wireless communication group, and radio frequency design group. And we started to address these areas of research: mobile computing, cellular technologies, sensor networks, RFID technology, vehicular networks, and wireless networking security. And the main research teams that were addressed: energy efficient mobile broadband wireless communication, intelligent vehicular networks and self-organizing networks, adaptive cooperative wireless communication networks for both high throughput and delay sensitive. And these are some of the areas that addressed. We don't have enough time to go through detailed description of this, but this was just to give you an idea that immediately research centers were formed and areas of research were addressing the immediate needs of the society through this technical support that we have from universities in Egypt and 12 universities from Japan. So things like broadband, cellular, and telemetry applications were addressed, design and implementation of testing of innovative radio frequency solutions in CMOS, ubiquitous indoor localization, also an area that was addressed, device-free passive localization for wireless environments, one of the research areas that was done, dynamic network interface scheduling, traffic sensors, and error conciliation in 3D multimedia video coding for wireless transmissions. Oral heads for topics of research that are currently done and implemented. The blind configuration of multi-view video coding was also done. Radio resource management in LTE, advanced heterogeneous networks, is also one of the research areas. Cognitive radio and wireless sensor networks, and other research areas in physical layers of DVB-T2 broadcast systems. And we started to have also collaboration, to establish collaboration with other universities and other research bodies. So you could observe here universities like Virginia Tech, like Pacific Northwest, Ohio State University, and also in Qatar we have the University of Qatar and Carnegie Mellon in Qatar, the Kyushu University from Japan, and Ottawa, So once you start a research project, and then you start to solicit cooperation internationally to provide cooperative solutions, you get these types of responses that you go on networking and you go on forming research teams, and you also get funding. And funding is very important, as we heard the last presentation. And so you always tend to get funds. So you could observe here Google, Microsoft, TWAS, and USAID, icthe in Egypt, and STDF, the Science and Technology Development Fund, and the Carnegie Mellon in Qatar are among the research funding and supporters for this research. Also, another facility was done for remote sensing, to design innovative remote sensing techniques, manufacture novel remote sensing equipment, conduct field campaigns and satellite observations, accumulate knowledge of Earth or environment, and a data center for African continent. And we started to formulate again the remote sensing facilities in broadband radar networking with icthe, data analysis and remote sensing from space. And the Japanese government through JICA started to provide facilities in terms of labs: biomechatronics lab, mobile robot and vision systems lab, intelligent control lab, and MEMS lab. All of them were provided by Japan and were installed at the premises of the universities just to support the research areas. So we have the robotic surgery system in the biomechatronics lab, development of assistive devices for elderly for the same lab, mobile robot and vision systems, autonomous underwater vehicle were among them, the intelligent control lab, MEMS lab in multimodal tactile display devices. All of them were among the facilities that were provided by Japan. So this is the net outcome that we had in 2 years of operation. As I said, we started February 2010. So in February 2012, which was the 5th board meeting, we had in publications 2010 publications, 84 journals, and 126 conferences. Although we don't have, the number of students are less than 100 students, graduate students in masters and degrees. But this reflects the quality of research that we had. And this is a distribution of publications, the 210 publications in electronics, communication, computing engineering, in innovative design engineering, and in energy and environmental engineering. A total of 210 publications already done. Also, the listings at Google Scholar was 78, and the average number per faculty was as high as 3.9, which reflects also the research capacity of the faculty of this university, 2.85 at the Scopus scale and 0.95 at the ISI Thomson scale. We received 42 funded grants. This is also important for the funding, and the amount was $19,298,804 in 2 years of funded research. We managed to acquire 5 patents also during this time in multi-core processors for 3D array, in anode for electrochemical reaction, in oxygen evolution electrode, another patent for oxygen evolution electrode, and in load balancing for image processing using multiple processors. 5 patents were registered in February. 1 was added last month. So funding resources, as you see, include IBM, Farco and Amazon and Google and Qatar National Research and Advanced Research projects in Egypt, some in Qatar, some in Egypt, and we have Microsoft Research at UK, and Intel Research USA, Mentor Graphics USA, King Abdulaziz City, Research Development and Innovation Program, and Carnegie Mellon University. All of them were sharing the funds that was allocated to the funded research. Other research partners, we had partners from Egypt, including Silicon Vision, National Research Centers, Petroleum Institutes, Water Pollution, Kyushu University in Japan, the City of Science and Scientific Research and Technology in Egypt, some in Tunisia, and University of Ottawa in Canada, Florida, and Ohio State, USA, and Pennsylvania also, Purdue School of Engineering and Technology at USA, the Qatar University and Waseda University in Japan, Carnegie Mellon in Qatar, Academy of Scientific Research in Germany, and the University of Ottawa in Canada. So, as you see, the outcome in 2 years at the higher education level are quite promising. But still we were worrying very much about the input to this university. Who would enter this university? And should they be prepared for innovation before coming in? And here comes the second part of this science and technology diplomacy in cooperation with the United States of America. As a former Minister of Education, I used to visit some of the schools at USA, which are called the STEM schools, the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics School. And I remember the model that I saw at the Washington STEM school, Washington Public Charter School. And I saw actually how do they prepare the tertiary education students at the secondary level to be prepared or better prepared for innovation in sciences. They get extra curricula in science, in mathematics, in engineering, and in technology. And their education is project-based all the time, no rigid curricula. They have courses, but they have project-based all the time. And they have quite some room for innovation. This is very important. And they have internships and camp and summer camps. So they interact with industry, they interact with research centers, they interact with industry, so that the student in the 3 years period of his secondary education will be very much prepared for such universities like a research-based university, the university that I just described. So the STEM schools stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And as you know, the STEM-based jobs are rising high. The demands of the of industry now is demanding for this type of graduates. So actually, we are better preparing our graduates to find good jobs. So the STEM education addresses the problem of employment, the economic empowerment, the socio-economic improvement, and the stability and harmony through this type of STEM education. So actually, they claim that this is changing the DNA of science education from the ancient type to the type that is based or actually addressing the ministry, the academy, the technology, the industry, and the community. So you could see that at the school, you address technology, and also you get exposed to academy, to industry, to science centers, to inclusive community at this stage before entering university. And to do that, and to build the Egyptian STEM schools model, we need to address these issues. The students, how to select the students, how to prepare
taking out information, you've made it more interesting and more engaging. Another note is there's a lot of controversy on whether to do these series of commercials. If you're going to do advertising or something creative, innovative in marketing or advertising, if it's going to move people to actually do something, you're going to polarize probably half the group. Half's going to like it, and half will probably hate it. If everyone's kind of neutral, you haven't done anything. It's not memorable. Okay, I'm going to make several comments to the professor we had yesterday, the last speaker from North American University. He was spot on with some of the mind things, that memory and how to get into long-term memory, and I'll give several examples to that. How many photographers do we have? How many photographers? Nobody in here has taken a picture but me. Okay, everyone has taken a picture, okay? There's a technique in photography called frame line magnetism, which is the frame line of the picture. I'm using magnetism to pull you in by taking out information. A picture will always be more interesting if there's less information in it. Example, next time you're doing your family photo on your vacation, take a picture of whatever you would normally take, as long as there's not a Grand Canyon between you and the object. Walk twice as close to the object and take another picture. The second picture will always be better because information's been taken out. What information's been taken out here, you don't really know what's going on. You don't really know what's going on in that picture either, which makes it more interesting.
Black hot half cup of coffee, please.
Excuse me?
Can I get black coffee?
Black coffee.
There we go.
Where to go?
Video on X, please.
What?
We got a video on X, please.
English. Got it.
How does that make you feel?
What is it, bollocks?
What? That's disturbing, Ozzy.
Make yourself heard with the full QWERTY keyboard Samsung Propel.
So many people know who Ozzy Osbourne is. Okay, he's a rock star in the U.S., and that commercial makes sense there and may not here because there isn't an anchor. The anchor in the U.S. is everyone knows who Ozzy is, and everyone knows he's done too many drugs and he can't talk. Okay, so it's a funny commercial. What's been taken out is what he's actually saying. Well, people can relate to it because they know Ozzy Osbourne. Is everyone lost? Are you with me so far? Okay. Here's a technical example of taking out. Why was this such a popular product? What was taken out of it? The complexity was removed. This is the first electronic product that came out that was advanced that didn't require a manual to make it work. Nobody read the manual for this. Nobody. You picked it up and you got plus, minus on volume, fast forward, rewind. That's why it was so popular. Plus the quality of the music was awesome and it held a lot of songs. The simplicity, what was taken out here was to make it simpler and not let design creep get in there. You made it the opposite direction. You took a bunch of stuff out. I worked for iOmega at the time. We made an MP3 player that had like 190 features. Okay, it bombed. Okay, we didn't sell any of them. That's why this one was a huge hit. Switching gears now from lens. Railroad tracks in the United States are 4 feet 8 1/2 inches wide. The rails are 4 feet 8 1/2 inches wide. That's a very odd dimension, isn't it? Why would they be 4 feet 8 1/2 inches wide? Well, because we R&D'd it from England. That's what they did on their original trams. Where did England come up with that dimension? Excuse me? Yeah. There you go. She said horse carriages. Well, it was started with the wheel ruts. That's the width of the wagon wheel ruts. So that's what they copied. Where'd that come from? It came from chariots. It's the width of a chariot, 4 feet 8 1/2 inches wide. Why is it that dimension? Because that is the width of 2 horses' asses. Okay? On the space shuttle program, the solid rocket boosters, I was a chief engineer on the SRBs. The exit cone where the fire comes out of the rocket, the exit cone is 10 feet in diameter. Okay? When I was a young engineer, I was doing a program on a clean propellant to come up with a completely new propellant, and I was running a baseline computer program telling me the size of the nozzle, and it kept telling me the nozzle should be 12 feet, not 10. So I thought I was making a mistake. So I kept going back and running the program and running the program. And finally I found an old guy who at the time was about 45. And I said, I can't figure this out in this program. It keeps telling me it ought to be 12 feet, not 10. And he goes, you're right, it's supposed to be 12 feet. But it's 10 because it has to fit on a rail car. Why does it have to fit on a rail car? Because NASA told us it did. Okay? What Pat was saying yesterday about systems engineering, we didn't have any in those days. The difference, a 12-foot diameter one would give you about 10 to 15% more payload capability, where you're talking tens of thousands of dollars per pound. We flew 30 years of the program in third gear and never made one because of this ground rule that said it had to fit on a rail car. It's because you had to ship them from Utah to Florida. We could have dramatically increased the performance. NASA could have bought a C-5 aircraft and just flown the exit cones down there. The reason they had to be 10 feet is they have to fit through bridges. They have to go 2,400 miles from Utah to Florida. That's one of those conventional wisdoms is wrong. Okay? We didn't ask the right questions there. Over 90% of communication is through body language. Okay, I'm talking about conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom is wrong 100% of the time. Because that's wrong. How many people have heard that statement? Something to do with body language, most of it's nonverbal, 90% of it is communication. That's wrong. Here's where that came from. It's from chapter 3 of this book by Albert Mayhem. When reconciling inconsistent, contradictory statements made by a speaker, it's estimated that we'll use body language and tone of voice to determine which contradictory statement was misspoken. That's what he wrote in the book, which is dramatically different. He said, when somebody's lying, we will often use visual cues to figure out what made sense and which comment was a lie. That got turned into a mess of journalists writing about all communication, 90% communication is nonverbal and visual. And for 40 years, we're still doing that. There's this rumor control thing. Everyone keeps talking about this. The author said, I never said that. It was never true. People keep publishing that, and they keep repeating me like a parrot when I didn't say it. Okay? So the point there being conventional wisdom is wrong 100% of the time, at least some percent or some context of it. Give me one sec. Hit the volume down for a minute if you would. So I'm going to multitask here because my computer will die somewhere in the middle of this if it's not plugged